Our coverage on this multi-million-dollar legal claim continues as we bring in part of the legal team behind today's filing.
We're joined now by Michael Perloff, a senior staff attorney with the DC ACLU and co-counsel on this case to discuss the lawsuit and what comes next. Thank you so much for your time. We want to jump right in here. Let's start with the basics. Michael, what exactly is your client's complaint? What's she alleging? And what do you hope this legal action will accomplish?
Good morning. Our client suffered a gratuitous and outrageous and unjustified attack at her home when these three National Guard members walked in her patio and told her she was being detained, violently pushed her to the ground, and put handcuffs around her wrists that were so tight they tore her ligaments and required surgery. Miss King did absolutely nothing wrong to provoke this. The allegations that the guard claims led them to go into her yard did not result in any criminal charges. What was, though, undoubtedly present in her yard was a sign criticizing the guard's presence in DC. And this is just part of a piece of retaliation against critics of the government that has no place in our society, but which we've seen far too much of in recent months.
Mr. Perloff, you mentioned these alleged prior interactions with the National Guard and your client. The police reports, again, detail some of those allegations. Did those events happen?
Our client was not involved in any prior assault on National Guard members, as is alleged in some of those documents. And I think what really corroborates that isn't just our client's word, but the fact that there were no charges pressed for that particular incident. So if that had really happened, we would have expected the government to have gone after our client for that, but they didn't. And that's because it didn't occur.
Just to be clear, okay, that's your stance. It never happened. None of those allegations are true.
No, and if you look back at the police reports that you're referring to, the reports allege that our client, again, was involved in some type of assault, but the details are quite murky. And our point is just that our client wasn't the one who did whatever they claim happened there. So maybe it happened, maybe someone did it, but it wasn't our client. And really, what we're talking about here is the reputation and physical health and safety of a woman who served in the Iraq War as a combat veteran who received a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart. And again, it's just sitting in her home when she's pushed to the ground and detained. The handcuffs were so tight, MPD recognized that they were on incorrectly. The condition that Miss King was on the ground was also something MPD recognized was incorrect. So when you have troops doing criminal law enforcement like what's happening here, what you end up with is really excessive and unjustified uses of force, because troops aren't trained for domestic law enforcement. They're trained for warfare, which is why they shouldn't be policing our streets.
So we started by saying this is a coordinated effort with the ACLU, dozens of other similar cases across the country. So what do you hope to gain here with this case and the effect on any other pending litigation?
The goal here is to draw attention to what's happening not just in DC, but around the country. We have militarized National Guard members, militarized ICE officials, militarized federal officers from various agencies doing law enforcement tasks that are not what they're supposed to be doing, not what they're trained to be doing, and executing those tasks in violent ways. There are a few mechanisms to achieve. One of them is to try to hold government officials accountable through the law and through the Federal Tort Claims Act, and that's what this project is all about.
All right, Michael Perloff, thank you so much for your time this morning. Again, senior staff attorney with the ACLU-DC and co-counsel on this case. We appreciate your time.